Deputy Speaker, I'm very pleased to speak today in support of the Safer Phones Bill, and I speak as a mother of 4 teenagers who goes into battle almost every day on screen time, as a governor of 8 years at a local school who has seen the damage that screens can do to young people's mental health, and as a member of this place who might be able to do something to turn the tide on the damage to our young people who are being used as guinea pigs in the rapid advance of technology. We are well into the tech revolution. It will change everything, and it is a force for good. But just like previous industrial revolutions, there are victims. Then too were the children in factories powering that revolution, and now today our children need protection against this tsunami of tech and its attendant harms. This bill, as originally intended, was a crucial step in safeguarding the well-being of our children in our digital world, and I want to sincerely thank the Honourable Member for Whitehaven and Workington for all his work to date in his campaign for a safer smartphone use for children. And as many Honourable Members have pointed out here already, the evidence before us is undeniable, and I won't rehearse them. I just want to pull out a few points. 2.5 million children in the UK are using social media underage, and before, crucially, they have developed the necessary skills to navigate complex and risky online environments. Extended screen time has also spiked rapidly and become the norm for most young people. And as I want to commend the report of the Education Select Committee, which revealed that nearly a quarter of children now use smartphones in a way that's consistent with a behavioural addiction. And screen use starts for some as early as 6 months of age, and by the time children reach 12 years old, nearly all have a smartphone. So social media and mobile applications are not just tools for communication. Many are inherently addictive by design, engineered to keep users engaged whatever the cost, and I know this from my children, and I'd like to underscore the words of many of the honourable members here today on the addictive nature and the battles that parents have. It is causing huge pressure on parents who are doing battle with addictive algorithms, which they can't possibly win. So the initial provisions in this bill are ones I wholeheartedly support, and so did hundreds of my constituents in Easham and Walton who wrote to me in support of the campaign behind the bill, and while I continue to support it, I must express disappointment that it's been significantly watered down. What could have been a bold step in child protection has been reduced to mere provisions for government research commitments and guidance revisions, actions that do not require legislation. And we know that the government has already committed to commissioning academic research on smartphone use last autumn, but partly in response to the very welcome campaign brought about by the Honourable Member for Whitehaven and Working. And we already have overwhelming evidence that we've heard today supporting stronger regulation. So really, how much more evidence does the government need? Head teachers across my constituency and parent groups across Molesey, Esher, Walton, Thames Ditton and Hersham have convened local campaigns with nearly 1,000 signatories for parliamentary petitions on this issue, expressing huge concerns about excessive smartphone use, unregulated social media and the inadequacy of current regulations. And I know that schools in my constituency were particularly encouraged by initial indications that this bill would make requirements for schools to be mobile free and to receive government support as they seek to enforce effective and safe learning spaces. In fact, the head teacher of Esher High School, Andy King, illustrated to me just how much creative problem-solving teachers are having to adopt in order to keep children focused on learning when they are walking around with such an addictive invention right in their pockets. His school has been compelled to enforce a closed backpacks only rule, as opposed to open bags like handbags, just so the children aren't distracted by seeing a notification pop up in their open bags in class. And all head teachers I met in my constituency talk about the inattention caused by phones and inability to focus on a whole book. And research, as we've heard, shows that it can take up to 20 minutes for pupils to refocus after engaging in non-academic digital activity. The rise in screen time has also been linked to decline in attention levels, language skills, and sleep quality. So it's both a learning distraction and a serious health concern. And as we mark and celebrate International Women's Day tomorrow, we also shouldn't ignore how children's access to smartphones can undermine healthy relationships and the safety and well-being of women and girls. And the Children's Commissioner for England found that 79% of children had encountered violent pornography before the age of 18, with the average age of first exposure being just 13 years old. And I know of a constituent whose child saw extreme pornography at 13 and was so traumatised in an effort to clear his mind that he developed OCD. We also know that online sexual crimes against children have risen by 400% since 2013, and for girls aged 7 to 21, a staggering 81% have experienced some form of threatening or upsetting behaviour online. So I appreciate what the Honourable Member has done to build the case for government action, but it's a pity that we are not going to be able to test the will of Parliament for a much more ambitious approach to online safety from this government than we have at the present. So, turning to the Minister, I know the Secretary of State has already expressed frustration with gaps in the Online Safety Act and its implementation, yet this bill could have been used to make some urgent amendments to it. Why has the government not used that opportunity, particularly when the Secretary of State has indicated there will be no new legislation coming along anytime soon? So I urge the government to stop hiding behind endless reviews and take concrete steps to protect young people now. Two specifically. The first is to ensure that there is a requirement on services to ensure minimum age limits on their platforms. Unfathomably, Ofcom's draft children's codes do not impose an obligation on regulated services to enforce their own terms of service on the minimum age of users on their platforms. This is something that children's charities argued for in consultation with these codes and have campaigned on ever since. Ofcom is not listening, and the government is doing nothing to address this. This bill could and should have been used as a means to plug that gap, regardless of what additional evidence the government feels it needs before it makes any further policy or legislative commitments. So will the government commit to do so? And the second is the issue that has emerged in the last couple of months with Meta's announcement that it is removing protections for vulnerable users from its content moderation policies. There is no mechanism in the Online Safety Act to prevent regulated services rolling back protections in their terms of service, and there is no minimum standards set for these either. This means that even for children under the Online Safety Act, there is no prohibition on platforms reducing standards either. Platforms can keep rolling back on their user safety protections until they hit the level that is harmful for children. This can't be right, but it can be fixed with an amendment to the Online Safety Act. Will the government agree to use this bill to do so? This bill could have been a vehicle for real policy action. But although the provisions of the bill are not as powerful as I initially hoped, some progress is better than none, so I will be supporting it. But I urge my colleagues across this House not only to just support this bill, but to push for the stronger, bolder reforms that our children desperately need. And to say that it is inevitable is not enough. Every day we wait is another day with a child spending 18 hours online, potentially at grave risk. And I urge the government and us all to act.